You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
We are just days away from TikTok being banned and one more day away from the inauguration. It is Inauguration Mania. Oh, get out your wallets and see if you can get a good spot at the inauguration. Or take your Chinese company and tell Trump that you want to be at the inauguration. The same company he wanted banned and started the entire process of banning your company, but now says it should not be banned. You, too, could have a front row seat to the inauguration. Politico, headline, everyone's trying to kiss the ring. Trump's inauguration devouring corporate cash and smashing records. Not only are companies giving far larger amounts than they did to Trump's first inauguration, when they didn't have a firm grasp of how to handle misgivings about the mercurial politician, they're also doing so in a far more public fashion, announcing the donations months before they have to be reported to federal regulators. Not only are they making the donations, they're bragging about it. They're not bragging to you and me. They're bragging because they want him to know that they're making these massive donations and that they're not ashamed of it. They're trying to win favor. It's a weird world that we're in right now. A little weird. Little weird. A little weird that we've got a lot of ring kissing going on. The inauguration packages, by the way, if you want in, you can get helicopter rides, shopping sprees, and vats of caviar. And I know what you were thinking, man, I didn't know I needed a vat of caviar, but now that it's being offered, I probably need a full vat. Meanwhile, fish are wondering where all their eggs went. Over a dozen D.C. hotels offering inauguration packages in the tens of thousands of dollars, advertising lavish suites and over-the-top amenities. The hot seller so far is the Watergate, whose what they're calling nonpartisan head of state package has been booked multiple times. How much? $73,500. With that, you'll get a round-trip Blade helicopter transportation from New York to the Reagan National and the daily armored, you get a daily armored Maybach chauffeur. Chauffeur. That's how you pronounce it. A lot of people say chauffeur, but I say it correctly. It's chauffeur. Chauffeur. That's French. Maybachs, if you're unfamiliar, that is Mercedes-Benz that's been
completely just redesigned from top to bottom.
I don't even how do you it's re-luxuried luxury.
It's essentially a sedan limo because if you get the highest end one, you not only have reclining back seats, you get internet connection, you get like a magnetic hold for all the champagne that you're going to drink back there.
And these are armored.
And and they're armored.
And they have sports car type engine modifications.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, they are great. Guests also get a tour of the Scandal Suite. That is the site of the infamous break-in at the Watergate Hotel. So they're capitalizing on that, too. So that's just one thing you could get. Fairmount near Georgetown offering one of the most luxurious packages. If you thought $73,500 to stay at the Watergate was a lot, how about the $350,000 package that included from the Fairmount round-trip airfare for 4 people and their pet? Thank goodness. From anywhere in the United States, plus 4 nights in a brand-new suite. You'll have 2 butlers, a shopping spree at Saks Fifth Avenue for worth $25,000, and a special cocktail named after you for the weekend. So let's call that a full vanity package. I always get a kick out of people paying for shopping sprees. For just $350,000, you could have a $25,000 shopping spree. What if I just gave you $325,000 and took care of my own shopping spree? Park Hyatt offering a $100,000 presidential package. You'll get opulent welcome perks, vintage champagne, a boatload of caviar. We went from a vat to a boatload now. A private chef's table, afternoon tea from the chef, personalized presidential robes and slippers, and daily flourishes like fresh flower bouquets and bespoke desserts. There you go. And if you were concerned that by going to the inauguration, you'd have to deal with those pesky flags at half-mast, all because we're paying tribute to a deceased president, you won't have to worry about that. No, since the president-elect said it's very wrong to have flags at half-mast during his inauguration, a number of Republican governors have stepped up, including Greg Abbott, who really kicked things off in Texas. And that got the ear of Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, who said, you know what? We shouldn't be recognizing a former president here in D.C. while we're inaugurating someone else. Nope. Let's bring those flags up to full mast.
A message.
This is from KVUE, Austin, Texas.
A message from House Speaker Mike Johnson, causing some controversy ahead of President-elect Donald Trump's inauguration next Monday. The Speaker says flags at the U.S. Capitol will fly at full staff on Monday. They were set to stay at half staff as part of a 30-day mourning period to honor former President Jimmy Carter, who died back on December 29th. Johnson says flags will be at full staff for the inauguration, but lowered once again after that for the rest of the mourning period, which runs until the 28th of this month. Yesterday, Texas Governor Greg Abbott announced the same for state buildings here in Texas.
And I know what you're thinking. Oh, these rascally Republicans, what are they doing? Well, let's tie all of our stories together. Everyone seems to want to kiss the ring, including Gavin Newsom, who's now decided that in the state of California, we also should put our flags at full mast. Yes, give your flag that little blue pill on Inauguration Day and get it to full staff. But don't worry, if it lasts more than 4 hours, talk to your doctor, because you need to bring it back to half mast, half staff, half whatever, the following day. Because then we can go back to paying tribute to Jimmy Carter. You know, I know why Newsom's doing this, because he goes, who cares? And if I can just extend a little olive branch, then maybe Trump will not stand by Johnson when he tries to negotiate relief funding, right? I get why Newsom is doing it, because this is all symbolism. Nobody really cares. Nobody cares. If you're spending too much energy on this, like, what is going on in your life that this is what you have the time to worry about? But obviously there are plenty of people, including Greg Abbott and other Republican governors, and now Newsom, who's like, okay, we're going to do this because it just feels like a smart play. But let me just throw this out for hypothetical. Let's suppose, you know that Trump is not eligible for re-election. Let's suppose that we are at December 29th, 2028. And let's suppose, hypothetically, that lame duck President Donald Trump suffers a horrible heart attack or a stroke or something of that sort, right? And he leaves this mortal coil. So, should that happen, and Vance is then to be inaugurated, let's say that Vance would step up immediately, but let's say that he wins the election and is to be inaugurated in 2029. Exact same scenario here. Would Vance demand that the flags be at full staff for his inauguration? Would the current speaker, let's say Mike Johnson's still the speaker, would he say it has to be at full staff? Now, I'm not saying he wouldn't, but I want you to think. We're actually setting a precedent now. This will not be the last time that we have a president, a former president, pass away in the time leading up to the inauguration. It will happen again. And maybe that's because someone dies in office. Maybe that's because of the timing around an election like we see this time around. It will happen again. We've set a precedent now. So flags are at half staff to pay tribute to the deceased president. That's a 30-day thing. That's standard operating procedure. But now what we're saying is, unless there's an inauguration, then they all have to come back up. Like, we are changing American tradition with whatever this is. We're changing it from here on out. Just mark my words, you won't remember. It'll happen again, you won't remember. Everybody will start arguing about it. But I'm telling you, mark my words. Meanwhile, while the flags are still at the top of the poll, Trump is already going to work. The day one barrage of promises and what you can expect to see before the sun goes down on Monday night. That is next. Chris Merrill in for Mo Kelly. KFI AM 640 live everywhere, on your iHeartRadio app.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
Chris Merrill in for Mo Kelly, KFI AM 640. You can catch me on Sunday afternoons. God willing, the creek don't rise and all the other reasons that they might let me stay. And I appreciate the opportunity to be here today and back again tomorrow, Mark. Sorry about that, pal.
We'll make do.
Me again. Yeah. I appreciate you. You're very tolerant.
Well, it's important to show mercy at a time like this.
When it comes to the inauguration, do you write a skeleton script ahead of time, Mark?
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
So do you have kind of an outline? Because we've seen inaugurations before. Kind of like you might have a skeleton obituary for...
Oh, you mean just like boilerplate stuff that you can write ahead of time?
Yeah. You call it Mad Libs of news, where you say, the president was sworn in today at the Capitol and blah, 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 and here's what he had to say. And then you would, you drop the audio in or whatever else.
Well, for the things that you can, if they're predictable or if you want historical background, that kind of thing in there.
Yeah.
But there are things about this one that look like they might be kind of unpredictable.
Well, that's what I'm thinking too, because it's not just the inauguration, which, side note here, I'm going to do a quick aside. Michelle Obama's not going to the inauguration. All right. She doesn't like Trump. I get that. So I understand Michelle Obama not going. Barack Obama's going. But she didn't go to Carter's funeral either. Is there something going on with her? Because the official word was, she was on a family vacation. And I thought, oh, man, they said the timing just didn't work out for the funeral. And I thought, well, doggone Carter. Why didn't he run that by her first? Clear the schedule. It's weird, isn't it?
I don't know. You'll have to explain to me why her not going to the inauguration is news when I'm pretty sure Trump didn't go to Biden's inauguration.
He did not. He did not. And here's what. It would not be news, save for a couple of little things. One, Barack Obama's going, and all the other former first spouses are going. Okay, so that's one thing. All right. And maybe you go, it's not a big deal if she doesn't go. Okay, that's fine. But also, she's the one who said, when they go low, we go high. Right? That was her whole thing. And so it looks almost petty, which, I'm here for it. Don't get me wrong. But then the other thing is she wasn't at Carter's funeral either, and we're kind of wondering, why is she staying? Why are we not hearing from Michelle Obama? Do we have a Kate Middleton situation going on here? Is there something we need to know?
I don't know. Things like this really raise my media double standard radar, though.
Yeah.
Because if we really want to keep track of, the number of occasions Melania has ditched Trump for, I think that would dwarf Michelle Obama taking a time out.
Except when it comes to Melania ditching Trump, I think we all kind of assume she just doesn't want to be around him. So does that mean that there's trouble in the Obama household?
Do you know something I don't?
I don't know.
You gotta surveillance.
The reason it's newsworthy is because there's a mystery. That's what I'm saying. Because when it's Melania, there was a lot of why isn't she at the White House? Why is Melania not staying there? And we all went, because she doesn't want to be around him. We just kind of came to that conclusion I feel like with Michelle Obama, there's still a little bit of mystery.
Well, you're married. You know how it goes.
I know, but you know what? It's one of those things that if I were going to the inauguration, my wife would just assume we're going together.
In fact, let's just give people a look behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Off the air, I was just advising you to dump your wife because of her opinion about the Nosferatu movie.
Yeah. In fact...
and I think you were seriously considering it.
As far as you know, I was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me see. I actually have this. Let's see. I said, I haven't seen the new Nosferatu. My wife saw it and said she thought it was too artsy. Your response, divorce her, I'm serious. I said, beheading in public? Should I go full Henry VIII on her? And you said, leaving her alone and impoverished should probably be plenty. I said, should I dig out and drop her in a Buffalo Bill hole in the basement, like in Silence of the Lambs? You thought that might be a little too much.
Yeah, it's weird when I'm saying that about the rest of you guys.
It is a little odd.
I don't like that.
No, I don't like when you have to be the voice of reason.
It seems like things are topsy-turvy.
Yeah, because normally isn't Tawala kind of holding you back?
A little bit, yeah. I like to be the transgressive one, so when I'm like Dad Brady...
Yeah, it's a little weird.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
Yeah. So on inauguration, and why you can't just use boilerplate stuff is because once he's inaugurated, does he sign executive orders before he's the president, or is there just a stack of executive orders that as soon as he gets off the dais, he just has to start signing before he starts to party for the night?
I don't know how that works, but we know what he said about all the things that he's going to do on day one.
Exactly. He's
including the D-word thing.
Yeah, divorce. No, a different one.
Different D-word.
Oh, okay,
different.
gotcha. Bloomberg was going over some of that list, by the way.
Well, it's explained to me that the first 48 hours are
Bloomberg News, not Michael Bloomberg.
Really going to be executive order after executive order. Now, this isn't new for any incoming president, especially when they're handing off power to the other party.
No, she's right. Every president comes in and has executive orders that they're going to sign on day one. Not abnormal at all. It'll be the second time I use the phrase tonight. The order of magnitude with this one is different.
To give you some color and a sense of what we expect, Nancy Cook, one of my colleagues here in Washington, D.C., has a long list of what the team is starting to prepare. On the energy front, new drilling on federal lands as part of his initial push. Trump is also going to freeze regulations put forth by the Biden administration that have not yet been finalized. When it comes to federal workers, they're trying to shrink the federal workforce by putting a hiring freeze on the government and mandating that they return to office. Is something we've heard Elon Musk talk about when he wants to Dogify the country. And
oh my God, are we going to start saying Dogify?
Oh, that's a word now.
then, of course, on immigration, this is going to be the most important. This is the one the president feels like he has a mandate from the country on. They want to tighten restrictions on border crossings, mandate that the government finish the unbuilt area of the border wall, set up the mechanics to also carry out mass deportations.
Yeah, but all with a hiring freeze? Oh, no, just a hiring freeze in those departments we don't like.
And also deprive any sanctuary cities of federal resources until they stop serving as a safe place for migrants. So it's going to be a very busy first few days of the Donald Trump administration.
You know, there's a couple times now that we've heard threats toward the state of California. One, you have to play ball with us or you're not going to get disaster relief aid. Now, you're not going to get any... cities and things like that are not going to get any federal dollars unless you abide by our new deportation laws, which, of course, are going to be challenged in the courts immediately. Can we just not send money to the federal government? The state of California sends more money to Washington than Washington sends to California. So, okay, cut us off. Let's just stop. Just no more federal taxes going to D.C., and then D.C., you don't have to send us any federal taxes. That seems like a fair trade, doesn't it? Let's just do that. Oh, sorry, Kentucky. You're screwed because there will not be as much federal money coming in. But don't worry. You'll be getting all of what's left because you're going to play ball. I just hate this whole give us money so we can tell you what to do. I hate that stuff. Ugh. Like it at all. Speaking of money, anybody got any extra cash? Come to find out, no. It's next.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
Chris Merrill in from Mo Kelly, KFI AM 640. Listen anytime on demand on the iHeartRadio app. Being broke stinks. Man, I hate it. My wife and I had a moment a few years back. And, at the time, it just made a lot of sense. But now looking back on it, we go, wow, that was kind of crazy. I had a good radio gig and I didn't follow what I was supposed to follow as far as what the station wanted. And I said, that's not a good idea. And the station went, well, that's what we're going to do. And I said, this is not great for me. And they said, yeah, you're not great for us either. And so the contract ended and that was it. So I didn't have a gig. And my wife made pretty good money, but we had a mortgage to pay, and we were in a bunch of debt, and I had always had some success in my life. And so I thought, I don't need an emergency fund. I'll just use credit cards until the next gig comes along. And I thought, I'm going to have work in no time. And come to find out, no time is a lot longer than I expected. So I was doing a lot of, part-time fill-in, that kind of thing. I was bringing in some money, but things started to get tighter and tighter, and then the credit card bill kept going up and up and up. I didn't change my spending, and things got ugly. So we decided, let's get drastic. Now, we could have kept making payments. We could have kept, kind of fighting the interest every month and tried to slowly come out of it. But we said, let's do something drastic. So we sold, my wife had a really nice car. We sold that, and then we sold our house. And we moved into a fifth-wheel camper. And we lived in a fifth-wheel camper for 2 years and paid off all of our debt. And we were fortunate because we moved in. My parents have a little bit of land in northern Michigan. And so we parked the camper on the land. It wasn't like it was a listen, it wasn't a dilapidated camper. It was a few years old, but it wasn't dilapidated or anything. It was all right. But I don't know if you've ever considered camping throughout a winter in Michigan. It's not a lot of fun.
That was going to be my question, like where it sat, because I know there's a lot of laws against just parking a trailer or that type of thing.
There are.
Wow.
That's correct. But they are deep in the woods, county. Somebody would have had to say, hey, I think they're living there, for it to be a problem. And we use the facilities inside the house more than we use the facilities in the camper. So it worked out really well for us, and I'm forever grateful to my parents for helping out with that. And we paid off all of our debt. And I got to tell you, the relief it brought was unanticipated. But it also put us on this path where we said, we do not want to get into that situation again. We do not want to get into it. Unfortunately, some other people are in the same position that we were a few years back. And by the way, we're out of that situation now. You know, I got a job. My wife is an incredible person, very fortunate. And so, you know, we've just kind of decided we don't want to have that situation again. Let's start saving some money, make sure that we got emergency funds and mortgages are paid and all that kind of stuff. So we're in a much better place now, but it was tough. It was hard. And now I see a headline talking about cash-strapped Americans and how all of a sudden, and I don't know how cash-strapped we are or if we're all using credit cards now. I know the credit card debt has gone way up. Inflation is out of control. The menu at McDonald's is ridiculous, and yet McDonald's isn't going out. They're not going under, so it's not like people aren't buying their McDonald's. But now shoppers and restaurant patrons around the U.S. are being choosy about where and how to spend their money, wrestling with high housing and food prices. To me, it's the housing costs that are the most outrageous. People are even trading down from Walmart and Aldi. Excuse me, they're trading down to Walmart and Aldi. I don't know if you saw a story, it was a couple of weeks ago, that said that Target was losing customers to Walmart. So Target, I guess, is considered the fancy place, right? And then they're going to Walmart instead. Department stores are struggling, and some other places are struggling as they're completely changing shopping habits. Did you see that Macy's is closing a bunch of stores too? I see Macy's is they're reconfiguring a bunch of things.
Yeah, I'm not surprised it didn't close a little bit earlier.
Me too.
Because, I mean, no offense to them at all. Like, they got some good stuff, but it just, honestly, maybe it's just to me, but it reminds me of my grandma. Like,
okay, I'm with you on that.
Okay.
I really am. But I feel that way about all the department stores, the Kohl's, the Nordstroms, all that stuff.
Okay, yeah, fair enough, yeah.
But I'm also a dude. I'm not their clientele, and I get that. But I kind of wonder what the future is going to be of those anchor department stores, especially as malls were closing. They survived somehow. They've done all right. But now Macy's saying they're going to close 150 stores over the next 3 years. They are going to open 15 higher-end Bloomingdale's. I didn't realize that Bloomingdale's was owned by Macy's, but now I know. They had planned to shutter 55 of those this year, but now they're going to open 15. So Macy's, I guess, was not expensive enough, so then you have to go to Bloomingdale's. So we are shifting our buying patterns based on what we have for the inflation, because of inflation, right? But then I start thinking about what I think is the biggest detriment. And this is what my wife and I were so concerned with. The biggest payment that we had every month was our mortgage, which is why we sold our house. By the way, worst time to sell our house. We closed on it January 2020, just weeks before the COVID thing took off here in America. Like we knew about this. We knew about this illness that was started in China. We had heard about it, and we're like, "Oh, that's crazy." And then we closed on our house, and then all of a sudden, the pandemic hits, and then we have this very brief recession, and then all of a sudden, housing prices skyrocket. And boy, did we lose out on a bunch of money. That house has sold a couple of times since, and it's more than doubled in value. So, you win some, you lose some.
I was going to say the only worst time would have been 2008.
Right, exactly.
That's what I thought you were going to say.
Exactly. But now you get it. That's what happened. But the fact is, though, that once we wanted to get back into the housing market, all of a sudden we found ourselves going, wow, everything is way more expensive than we expected. Which makes you think the American dream is toast. There's no such thing as the American. The idea of owning a single family home with 2.3 kids and a dog and a white picket fence and all that kind of stuff, that's gone. That's totally gone. In fact, we've got to the point right now where the housing shortage is so bad that, in California, they're telling people you can't have just single-family only zoning anymore, which means that even if your American dream was to have that single-family home with a nice yard and a white picket fence and all that other crap, we are actually saying we don't have the room for everybody to do that. We have to have more density. We have to have more condos and apartments and things like that. When it comes to the American dream in general, you want 2 cars in the garage and you want to take your kid to soccer practice and all these other things. According to, let me see. Yeah, it was the Telegraph that had it. But the Telegraph was telling a story about the American dream. And what is in the way of the American dream? It is property values. 100%. And it is nowhere is it worse than right here. Nowhere is it worse. It's funny. I was, I pulled audio. I've got some audio, but I'll just skim through it. CNBC had a story about it. And they talked about the median home price across the country is now up to, it's over $400,000 and people can't afford that. And I thought, $400,000? You know how long a decent place would last on the market at $400,000 in Southern California?
Isn't it more than twice that here?
Yes. It's like $900,000.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Before you finish that sentence, that's how long it would last.
That's exactly right. It would sell in 2.2 seconds. It would be a race to see who could get their name signed fastest. That's what would happen. And so you talk about the American dream. I don't know how anybody can have the American dream in Southern California. If you are a millennial, it's not a millennial. There's some millennials that have done it. If you are a Gen Z or younger, what are the odds that Gen Z and younger actually realize what we always grew up with as a concept of the American dream? There's no way.
It's extinct. You hear over and over again about how our parents and our grandparents could afford a family, vacations, and college on one paycheck.
Yeah.
That doesn't exist anymore.
No.
The last figure I read was 60% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
And the majority of people don't even have a few extra $100 on hand for emergencies.
Yeah.
That lifestyle from the old Leave It to Beaver days doesn't exist anymore.
It's gone. It's gone. And I think this is one of the biggest issues with the perspective between generations. Older generations just, we had to sacrifice. No, I'm sure you did. I'm sure that there were some things you had to wait to get, that kind of stuff, but eventually you could get those things. Maybe you couldn't go to college and get a house right away. Maybe you had to decide one or the other, and then get the other one later, whatever. But nowadays, it's like, do you want an education or do you want a home? Because you can't have both, because your student loans are so crazy right now that you're going to be paying those off. And remember, when you get out of college, you're going to have all these other bills, and you're going to have these student loans. And if you're not making extra payments, the interest is going to grow faster than you can pay off the principal. All these kinds of things, you're going to have to make a decision. You get one or the other, which is kind of leading some people to being defeated in the workforce. Maybe you're one of them. Let's see if you have these traits. That's next. Chris Merrill, Ian from Mo Kelly, KFI AM 640. We're live everywhere in your iHeartRadio app.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
I was just talking in the last segment about the American dream is DED. That spells dead, Jed. You're not going to be able to afford it. A lot of people are feeling hopeless, and it doesn't help if you have what some are identifying as a toxic leader. Toxic leaders can lead to zombie employees. I would also argue that employees that are not engaged at work can lead to frustrated leaders, which could then give you, I guess, zombie leadership. Are you a zombie employee? I started reading the list of characteristics of a zombie employee, and I don't want to point fingers here, but Mark, I got to tell you, pal.
Look at the time.
Yeah.
It's just about time to go to the news.
You just tell me. All right? You just tell me. You just tell me how this goes. Zombie employees, they arrive at work as late as possible and leave as early as they can.
I don't think we suffer from that problem here.
No? You're kind of a four in the door kind of guy, aren't you?
I think we donate quite a bit of our own free time to the iHeart Corporation.
Yeah, but I feel like you're complaining about it. So I'm going to go ahead and put you down for that one. Yeah.
Can't win.
Zombie employees take long lunches and consistently return late from meetings. Mark, you don't even go to the meetings.
I do not take lunches.
All right, there you go.
Kind of getting railroaded here. Tawali, you want to help out?
Zombie employee.
It's It's being read.
He's enjoying it. He's enjoying it.
I am.
Zombie employees never ask questions. They never correct mistakes or share insights during team meetings.
Oh, Mark.
We can't even get Mark to go to the team meetings.
Oh, boy.
I guess
right.
I'm one too.
Yeah. Oh, you too?
That describes me in a meeting.
All right. Oh,
I
got two
go
of them.
to them, but I don't say anything.
Tawala, we're surrounded by the zombies.
And you know how I feel about the zombies.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, I know. You've already got that dull, rusty machete ready to go. Off we go. Okay. All right, back to my royalty-free sound effects. Where are we? Oh, yes. Zombie employees never stay late except to take care of personal business using office equipment and supplies. Yeah. I think it's, yeah. Mark, we've been looking for that stapler, by the way. I wanted to point that out. A lot of people say that the last person they saw using the stapler was you.
The red stapler is in the basement, just so you know.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and add that one for you, too. I like that we're on the same page on that one. Let's see. Zombie employees never do anything to make their leader look good. Well, that's two for you on that one. Yeah. Okay, good. Zombie employees push all their deadlines to the very end. Nothing is ever completed early.
Now I know why you don't show me a rundown before the show starts.
Yeah, no, this is definitely why, yeah. The zombie employee, I mean, obviously your attitude sucks.
Yeah.
Zombie employees, quality of work is what you would expect. Painfully pedestrian, no frills, just the bare essentials. Yeah, that's
of course.
it.
Yeah, I'm
All
known
right.
for that. Yeah.
The bare essentials.
Let me see what else. What else does Mark? Oh, I'm sorry, zombie employees, not Mark. They are consistently uninquisitive and supine. They display a dearth of intuitive competence.
Yeah, supine. Mark Supine Runner. You got
Mark.
Supine.
Yeah, it was in my high school yearbook. Supine.
That's right. We
Most
always
likely to become supine. Yes.
Supine.
we always thought your newscasts were a little bit supine. And then my favorite. This is Ronner to a T. Fush, is this you too? Zombie employees are essentially dead behind the eyes, completely disconnected. Yeah, there we go.
All
right.
I guess that kind of spoke for itself.
It's a good thing my self-esteem is so healthy.
But
I got a note the last time I was in. Mo said I was too nice to you. So,
oh, okay. That's why.
Yeah, I wouldn't want anybody to make things easy for me.
Nope. Nope.
That'd take the sport out of it.
but you do know people that we've all worked with people like that, right? And you just kind of go, why are you even here? You know what I mean? Like, why are you even, like, they just drag everybody else down.
And it's what's usually worse is, or not usually, what is worse is when you have that person with that mentality and they just happen to be making twice as much as you.
Oh, you're right.
That
Those
sucks
people. Yeah, those people.
so hard.
Do you know what? I've always admired the people that know how to fail up. And I just thought, what is the characteristic that they have that they can fail up? Because that's what I need. I need to be that guy that every time I get canned, I end up in a bigger radio. Wait a minute, this is Market 2. That's not bad. Actually, come to think of it, I might have mastered this.
Maybe you did.
What? No.
I'm trying to think right now. LA's Market 2, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Yep.
It is Market 2.
Number two.
last time I got canned, it was a much smaller place.
All right. Well,
Maybe I have done something.
Maybe you are
Pat on the
moving
back for me all of a sudden here, huh? All right.
I think you need a ding for that one.
Well, little ding for me then. All right. According to the Human Resources Director magazine, which I know you guys have already read through, so this is nothing new to you.
Love their centerfolds.
Very good stuff. Oh, the pantsuits. Did you see the sales that they were offering on the pantsuits? Really good. 1 out of 5 people are thriving at work, which means 4 out of 5 people are not. What does it mean to be thriving at work? Pretty much everything that was just the opposite of what we just told you about zombie employees. They have a number of work well-being indicators: happiness, satisfaction, purpose, and low stress. Aren't there some of us, though, and I will not point fingers here because I've already had enough fun at your expense. I'll tell you this. My wife, I've said this to her before, and she always argues with me, but I say she's not happy unless she's stressed. She doesn't feel like she's working hard enough unless she's feeling stressed. If that stress is not at a certain level, she feels like she's not earning her paycheck. So 59% of people agree that they feel stressed at work most of the time. I think that's kind of the American way.
Well, that's what work is.
I kind of, but I see where he's coming from, because I kind of understand that, because there's another radio guy that I follow, and he came from the bottom, literally from the bottom to the top. And it's almost more difficult to be at the top, because who are you racing against? Now you're top dog. People are trying to catch up to you.
Yeah.
So maybe she's confusing stress with like motivation, because that's what I kind of hear is coming from your wife.
That could be.
Yeah.
She always feels like she has more that she can be doing.
Exactly. And when you're not doing it, you feel like you're lazy, or you're not putting in 100%. And so you like, oh man. And I've had this conversation with my parents all the time. Just like,
yeah,
you do this and this and this and this and this. You're fine. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but I could be doing more.
Could be doing this. Yep. And what if I did? And part of that too is I think that it's instilled in some of us when we're young. You know, my father was a workaholic, and he always instilled in me that you need to be doing more. You need to be doing stuff for the company. You need to be doing extra time and all these other things. The younger generations are more of a, no, if I'm working, you need to be paying me. And my father was always the guy that was like, you need to be giving them extra time so that they'll keep you. And I thought, but I mean, I do my job and I do it well, and I go above and beyond. But at some point, there's got to be, I know it's a hip thing to say now, is the work-life balance. There has to be some, doesn't it? Or else we toil away, we collect our watch after 50 years, and then we die. There's got to be more than that.
I agree.
Americans have kind of been gaslit into that work ethic thing that a lot of other countries don't have. I had to have a year abroad in Scotland to realize that there's some times where you can just be. You don't have to beat yourself up about not doing stuff.
Mark, your attitude sucks.
I know.
Yeah. Chris Merrill in from O'Kelly, KFI AM 640, live everywhere on the iHeart Radio app.
KFI.
And KOST HD2.
Los Angeles, Orange County.
Live.